Hello and welcome to your weekly tarot card reading. My name is Kate. I'm from Daily Tarot Girl, and for this week's reading I am using the Everyday Witch Tarot, and I am going to draw 3 cards. Each card is going to represent a portion of the upcoming week, and my intention is to get some new ideas, some insights into our week ahead. Okay, so don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment if you feel called to. It really helps my channel. Okay, card number 1. This is for the beginning of the week. So Monday, Tuesday-ish. And just bear with me. I'm just going to slide a little bit of a card back here so that my cards stand up straight. The thing with this card holder that I use is that it causes the cards to kind of tilt backwards, which is annoying. Okay, and of course I've got my glare issue here. There we go. Okay, so 9 of Swords for the beginning of the week. 9 of Swords reflects someone who is experiencing some kind of mental anguish. They are worrying. This is a worrywart card. This is a card that depicts kind of what happens when you really go inside your own head and you entertain all of your worst fears and anxieties, and you give them a lot of space and a lot of breathing room. It's kind of like fanning the flames of a fire. Like a fire is starting. Like if a fire starts starting in your home, you want to put that fire out. You don't want to open all the doors and windows and start blowing on the fire. So the 9 of Swords is kind of like what happens when you have this upsetting thought, you have a stressful thought, and instead of, meeting that thought or dealing with it in some way, you give space to it, and you feed it with more stressful thoughts, bigger stressful thoughts. So 9 of Swords is kind of a warning, and it's saying, be on guard. Your mind is going to maybe want to weave all kinds of terrifying stories or tales about what might happen. This is a card of either dwelling on the past and like kind of beating yourself up for something that happened in the past and thinking, oh, why didn't I do something different? Why did I say that? Why did I do that? Or catastrophizing about the future. So when the 9 of Swords shows up, it's a kind of a wake-up call and kind of a gentle reminder to be in the now. Be in the now. When you're in the future or in the past, you're often causing some stress and anxiety for yourself. So 9 of Swords is saying, be present, be in the now. So this is just something to look out for at the beginning of the week. It's also an opportunity to work with your mind instead of like letting your mind run the show. So using, your focus, your thoughts, your beliefs, the stories that you tell yourself, using that instead to your advantage rather than to your detriment. So instead of just letting your stressful thoughts just, spin out of control and totally run the show, kind of getting a handle on that and seeing if you can change the relationship you have with your own mind so that you're working with your mind and that your mind isn't working against you, if that makes sense. Okay. What's interesting about the 9 of Swords that I'm noticing? The girl in the card, she looks upset, but this little kitten is trying to get her attention. It's like, hey, like be in the now, notice me, like play with me. And the bird is sitting on the windowsill singing. So it's kind of funny because we look at the scene that's happening on this card, and actually it's a beautiful day. The sun is rising. This bird is singing. There's a kitten to play with. Nothing is actually wrong in this picture. Nothing bad is happening to the woman in this picture, but inside she doesn't feel good. So what's going on the inside isn't a reflection of what's actually happening around her. And so being more present, being more in the now can sometimes be a bit of an antidote to, feeling upset in some way. Okay, let's look at the middle of the week. So Wednesday, Thursday-ish, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So this is a major arcana card. It's number 10, the major arcana. And Wheel of Fortune tells you to get centered this week. The more centered you are, and just look at this wheel, kind of looks like a nipple in the middle of the wheel. But looking at the wheel, there's the fulcrum, or the center of that wheel. It's the center of the wheel. If you situate yourself in the middle of the wheel, when you spin the wheel, you aren't going to get thrown about. Whereas if you're sitting on the outer edge of this wheel, like a Ferris wheel, and that wheel gets spun, it's going to make you dizzy. You're going to be out of sorts. So Wheel of Fortune is saying midweek, you want to center yourself, get centered. So what does that mean to you when you're centered? The woman on the Nine of Swords, she's not really centered. She's kind of being, her thoughts, her worries, her anxieties are throwing her off center. So if she's able to come into the present moment, to center herself in the now, that can be a very empowering experience, to just center yourself in the now. So what helps you get centered in the present moment? For me, it's going outside, going for a walk. That's a very grounding, kind of centering thing to do. Paying attention to your physical surroundings, just checking in with your physical senses can kind of bring you back to the present moment. It might also be there's many different other activities or things to focus on that will help you feel centered. Maybe it's a breathing technique. But this is what the Wheel of Fortune is kind of suggesting you focus on midweek, is getting centered. The other thing with the Wheel of Fortune is anything can happen. This is like rolling the dice. There's an element of chance with this card. And this idea that life is always changing. The situation is always changing. The players are changing. The game is changing. This wheel is being spun. The dice is being thrown. There's an element of risk, an element of chance, and this feeling of like, you don't know what's going to happen. There's a part of the Wheel of Fortune that feels very up in the air. Like, who knows what's going to happen here? And the more centered you are, the more okay you are with that. If you're not centered, then that feeling of who knows what's going to happen, or that feeling of change, is going to feel much more traumatic if you're not centered. Okay. Let's look at the end of the week. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have Judgment. So this is the last. Is this the last? No, this isn't the last card. The World is the last card. Why do I not know this yet? I should know this. Okay, so Judgment, second to last card in the Major Arcana. Now, Judgment is actually Judgment's a very powerful card. It's a card about awakening and rebirth and kind of reinventing yourself, reinventing your path. So if up until this point you've had this idea of like, this is how things are, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, Judgment comes along and it kind of shakes things up a little bit, and it encourages you to really listen to that inner voice. Listening to your intuition. That's my kitty Merlina in the background. I think she wants to be part of the reading. Hold on, I'll go grab her. Okay, I'm back. I went and grabbed my cat and she got really mad at me. She does not want to be part of this reading. Okay, I was wrong. Okay, so coming back to Judgment. Judgment is about listening to that inner voice, which is sometimes tricky. It's tricky when there's a lot going on. You're dealing with your internal dialogue, stressful thoughts, worries, anxieties. Wheel of Fortune, I feel, kind of depicts maybe the state of the world or what's going on around you. Things are kind of unpredictable. Things are changing. Things are shifting. And it can be really challenging to hear that inner voice and pay attention to what your inner calling is, what you're being called to do. But Judgment is about listening to that inner voice and knowing that you can reinvent yourself. You can reinvent your life. You can reinvent yourself. You can change your course anytime. I also think of Judgment as being the makeover card. I think of this as like giving yourself a makeover, giving your life a makeover, or giving a certain area of your life a particular makeover and just reinventing some part of your life this week. There's also a sense of joy with this card. Like, notice that this figure on this card is dancing. She's kind of skipping down her path. So there is a lightness. There's a sense of joy. And there is a sense of joy, I think, that comes from going to where you feel called. When you go in that direction, there's a sense of lightness that can happen. And here we have the butterfly, which is a symbol of transformation. Kind of supports what I was saying about reinventing yourself, kind of transforming yourself. Okay, so what advice does Judgment have for you for this week? I feel like Judgment is saying, be sure to pay attention to that inner voice. Where is it leading you? Where is it taking you? What area of your life or what part of yourself do you feel called to transform or give a makeover to? So that Judgment is it really is about transformation, kind of waking up, transforming yourself, knowing that you can change yourself at any time. So this card feels exciting. Out of the 3 cards, I'm most excited to see this one. It represents a shift towards the end of the week. So you might start the week off in a glum mood, feeling stressed, and midweek you may be able to center yourself, or you might not. But either way, when we get to the weekend, Judgment, there is this vibe shift. There is a change in the vibe of these cards. And it feels like, if I can compare like the 9 of Swords to Judgment, 9 of Swords is about feeling disempowered, like life is happening and you have no control over it and you're stressing about it. Whereas Judgment is about feeling very empowered and finding your place in things, finding your place in the chaos and knowing what your next steps are going to be. Okay, so that has been your weekly tarot card reading. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Please leave me a comment if you feel called to. If you have your own idea about what these cards are saying or you want to add to something, feel free to leave me a comment and share your thoughts on these cards. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to learn more about tarot card reading, check out my website, dailytarotgirl.com. I'll put the link below this video, and have a good week.